Welcome to Making Moves, a podcast presented by the Center for Sport and Social Justice at Cal State University, East Bay. Today's episode on Boxing for Justice includes guest speakers Dalia Gomez and also Alfredo Gomez, speaking with Jill Nelson, the host of this episode. This is McKenna Duda, your podcast producer and host. I'm a Cal State East Bay kinesiology graduate, former collegiate, now recreational runner, and a personal trainer. I'm located in Dallas, Texas, where you can catch me playing sand volleyball, hiking any and every hill I can find, or studying to encourage those around me to pursue a life of adventure, service, and vitality. Here, we'd like to serve our audience by educating and also inspiring y'all to feel empowered through sport and social justice. All athletes, sports fans, and social justice advocates are welcome. I'd love for us to take a moment to be mindful. Within this portion of the pod, we intentionally consider a thought or topic. Eating is essential in our daily lives. Doing so mindfully can be a game changer. This means that eliminating background noises and distractions by shutting off a show and simply sitting down, that the body won't just mindlessly eat. This helps us to slow down when eating, improves digestion, allows for hunger signals to be recognized, and leads to better body awareness overall. Let's be mindful of the space we occupy when eating and transform our eating habits. Boxing is arguably one of the most demanding, intense sports there is. In this episode, we will take a look at the often overlooked beauty of boxing, its power to catalyze self-realization, and its ability to strengthen communities. Experts on this episode are two longtime local Bay Area boxing coaches, Alfredo Gomez and Dalia Gomez.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jill Nelson. We are back. I am a former soccer player here at Cal State East Bay, and I'm about to graduate with my degree in kinesiology and business minor. All my life, I do things because I'm really passionate about them, and if I'm not, I won't do it. So fighting for social justice in every way is one of them. I'm a very, very big believer in doing all that I can to make sure this world is better for the people coming after me. So we're here with a really, really good podcast today. So we're going to welcome our first guest, Dalia La Pantera Gomez. She was a fighter prior to her birth, but she began boxing after she lost her basketball scholarship at the age of 21. And a year of hard work led to her basketball scholarship being reinstated and her becoming a first-generation graduate. Gomez moved to Oakland, California, and returned to boxing after a 10-year hiatus and became the 2015 California Golden Glove champion, 2015 Puerto Rico versus California champion, and 2016 Beautiful Brawler champion. She is now a professional boxer, motivational speaker, and one of the 9 females chosen to partake in the Fire Academy. Also excited to speak with Alfredo Gomez. Alfredo is a world-class coach with 20 plus years of experience coaching individuals at the amateur and professional level. He has successfully coached students to compete at the Golden Glove, USA Boxing Nationals, and Olympic trials. Again, we're very glad to have you here. We are so stoked to continue this conversation and have a really good podcast today. So again, thank you for joining us. First, we'd like to start with an icebreaker question. Can you both share where you guys are joining us from, along with your favorite boxer of all time?
I'm taking this conversation here at my gym, Gopa Boxing Club in the Fruitvale district. And then my favorite boxer is Roy Jones.
I'm in Oakland. I just left the gym, so kind of recovering. So I'm Oakland in California. I'm originally from Oxnard, California. We call it Boxnard, one of the meccas of boxing. For me, as a coach, I think it's important to respect all these different fighters. It's kind of hard to pinpoint a favorite fighter, but I do respect Cesar Chavez and Salvador Sanchez and Muhammad Ali, of course, for a myriad of reasons, but there's a lot to name. Will Jones Jr., like he mentioned, he has long arms. He was no joke.
I have a lot of family out in Oxnard, so every time I go visit them in LA, like, oh, let's go back. So, all right. So let's dive into the content now. So we'd love to hear from each coach about you and your own personal history with boxing. So Dalia, can you start us off by giving us a 1 to 2 minute brief background on how you got into boxing, how you became such a decorated boxer, and as well the coach to the sport?
I don't know about that, Ray. It's a lot of beautiful like boxers out there. I'm just happy that boxing has saved my life in so many ways. But I started boxing in the streets like everybody does. I'm from a family of 8, and we're constantly just wrestling and boxing. And of course, in Oxnard, so many people were boxing, but I didn't actually start to compete until I went to college. I went on a basketball scholarship. The year that I actually lost my scholarship from a mistake that I made at 21 years old, that year, in order for me to be reinstated with my basketball scholarship, I just had to work. I was working 5 different jobs. I didn't have a car, so I was running to school
Wow.
every day, or running to work every day in the rain. It's in Seattle, Washington. I was in Seattle, in Washington State. And so that year is when I started boxing, and I met a coach that actually fought in the Army. And so he was my first coach, like that was Fry. And that kept me in shape and sane, but I didn't know that you could compete at the time. And then he asked me if I wanted to fight. And that's when my first fight was against Queen Underwood, which 10 years later, she actually was one of the 3 females that were chosen to fight in the Olympics. And that could have been me if I would have been boxing, because I had the most ideal body shape for a boxer at my weight class. But that's when I started. I was 21 years old.
I love that. No goal, nothing is ever too late to start. So thank you. And we're glad you kept with it. Alfredo, would you like to give your background in boxing, coaching, and your experience with that?
Oh yeah, I first got into boxing when I was probably 10 years old. I was back in Mexico. I remember I used to watch Lucha Libre. I don't know if you know about Lucha Libre. I used to watch luchadores do their thing, so I kind of got intrigued by it, and then I started training to be one of them. But I stumbled into boxing. I I I did that for a little bit, and then when I got to America, I met somebody that got me into boxing, and I competed, and then I started coaching. It's been 25 years now, and yeah, I really enjoyed it.
We love to hear it. And I'm here for any story to sit here and show how far you guys have come. So we'll join into the next question. We're going to take a moment to kind of set the stage for this episode a little bit. Boxing is a combative sport by nature. Those who know the sport probably have heard boxing referred to as a sweet science. Those who are familiar with it often think it is unnecessarily violent and harmful, but obviously we see there's beauty into it. Dalia, can you speak to the history of boxing as a whole and the nature of the sport as well, how you see it?
Well, we'll be here all day if we talk about the history of boxing. But I mean, of course, you got boxing started in the streets or in the bars, people trying to make money and trying to feed themselves. You got Manny Pacquiao fighting for a bag of rice. A lot of people, this is the poor man's sport, and people trying to find a way out. And or what I think as an educator, because I'm a former teacher, and with my nonprofit youth program, I understand the psychological traumas that youth go through, especially us as people of color in our community. We're born fighters. All of us were just trying to fight and make it. And most of the time, as all coaches will tell you, is when you get in that ring, you're not fighting another person, you're fighting yourself. And that is in itself probably the hardest challenge, because if, as a boxer, I realized that I needed to respect and love myself and use my reach, instead of like, no, well, I'm going to show that I'm tough and I'm going to brawl, I'm going to get close. But that's just not how it worked, because just like in life, if you don't know yourself, Bruce Lee would say, know thyself, so you could flow like water, and then you could get through anything. And in fact, that's actually the first line of self-defense, is to know yourself and be aware of your surroundings. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of people don't dive deep to truly understand why boxers become boxers. If you just name a boxer that's active right now, they are struggling with a myriad of things that they might not expose to the public, because it is a theatrical sport, and you got to sell the fight, and you got to do all these things, but nobody really knows what people are. It's like they say, people don't know what goes behind closed doors. And I just think that that's something to admire, and something to respect, because boxers are always in this kind of like turmoil or dealing with actually real life problems. So people are afraid of the B word, and not the BITCH. People are afraid of boxing. Sometimes coaches or people that want to open gyms kind of try to stray away and don't put the word boxing. They try to probably just put gym, because people are afraid of this contact sport. But as an athlete, semi-pro basketball player, everything's physical in the sport. And that's what's amazing, to be able to learn kinetically, and how we move our body, how we function in life is all about movement. And so I think that boxers or athletes in general are lucky to be able to stay healthy and challenge themselves, especially in the sport of boxing, which is the hardest sport I've ever tried. I'll just leave it at that.
Wonderfully answered. Thank you. Alfredo, do you have anything else to add about the history of boxing as a whole from your perspective?
Um, Throughout the history, I think boxing gives strength to the weak. Really, like, changes people's lives from what I see. I think that's the most important part. It's that does wonders to everybody. I wouldn't just say the youth. I would say everybody. Like, my experience training, I train little kids, girls, older, and it does wonders. I gotta say that society does not accept boxing because they think it's a brutal sport. But it's more than that. It's more than just violence. What a person gets from boxing is just way greater than what society thinks boxers get. They think, first thing they see, oh, Muhammad Ali. I don't want my son to be like Muhammad Ali, or they compare all these pro fighters, and but in reality, it does wonders. I've witnessed it. People come in, shy, and then in 2-3 years, they develop this inner strength, that they thought they never had, and it's great to see.
I like to mention actually that neurolinguistic programming is important, and that all athletes, professional athletes and Olympic athletes, use that to be great. And as Alfredo mentioned, it has helped everybody. I've had a friend that actually got brain scans of his youth and adults before they started a boxing training, and they saw how they've grown to actually be stronger mentally, and also take away PTSD, anxiety, depression, all these things. And I personally, one of my older clients, she's close to 60, had some eye problems, but because of the mitts, and the hand-eye coordination, the eye doctor was like, "Wait, I thought you weren't you were like losing your vision." And within a month, I'm not gonna say I cured her eyes, but the fact of just the practice and the drills, and health and wellness is important, and boxing is health.
Go take a box class. I was like, no, I'm not that strong. I'm weak. Like, all of these things. And then now I look back, and now that I'm finishing my sport, I'm like, I need that competitive nature. Like, Pilates isn't cutting it. The gym isn't cutting it. I need someone to help me, motivate me, and things like that. And I've been looking into taking some boxing classes just because I know it'll give me that competitive nature back. It'll make me more confident, and it'll bring me out of a shell that I was closing. Because in soccer, you can't just, if someone talks to you, you can't just be like, hey, like, stop talking. It's like, oh, there's a card in your face. So there's a lot of passion that comes in boxing. And I had that fear too of the B word, and like, oh no, like, I don't want to be that person. But it's a lot more than that. It's a sport at the end of the day. And sports bring together, and sports keep people going. So thank you.
It's a complete sport. People don't understand that boxing it's a combination of all the sports, whether you're using the ladder, you're lifting weights, you're dieting, you're running. That's why it's the hardest sport, because it's all the sports combined. If you want to do it competitive, that I'm talking about competitive boxing, the combination of all these sports, and that's what's so hard about it. And plus, on top of that, if you do it competitive, people are going to punch you. But if you don't do it competitively, there's a lot that you can get out of it. Stress relief, your balance, coordination gets better. your eyes get better. I would recommend it to everybody, and especially people that are going through stuff right now. Like during the pandemic, um, a lot of people started, having some problems, and one, if I can say this, I would totally recommend boxing. Give it a try. It's gonna do wonders for you.
Yeah, a lot of people be like, "Oh, I want to join boxing because I want nice arms." If you just punch with your arms, you're not gonna do great. You're not gonna have no power. This is a full body sport, completely full body sport. And if you respect that and you respect the technique, you will realize your glutes, your calves, everything's gonna hurt. Your back, everything's gonna be sore. And so, besides you being challenged mentally, yeah, he's on point with that. It's a full body sport.
I love that. Mind, body, soul. Here we go, guys. All right, Dalia, you're a female in this sport that is traditionally recognized as being very male dominant. Can you bring a little light on how you pushed to be respected as a female boxer and how you were able to inspire other females around you?
Well, that's a long conversation with that one. Well, I'll be 41 this year. Um, Thankfully, because of boxing, I feel great. I feel young. And I feel that because of boxing, I am thriving in the Fire Academy as the only female right now in the Fire Academy. I was telling a young fighter the other day, we went to go spar in Richmond, and his dad overheard me saying I was in the Fire Academy because I hadn't been at that gym in a while. And then he's like, I like that he said that. See, although my son is really good, national champion, but I have to remind him that it's not, it's boxing is going to help him with so many things outside of the ring. And he's like, can you talk to him a little bit about that? And I bring that story up because it's rare that not only do you have, it's already another dynamic when you have a father coaching a son in this sport. It's another conversation. But when males, since it's a male dominant sport, sometimes they're not open to having conversations about training, to learn new things, to learn new methods. Oh, how do you wrap your hands this way or whatever? Everybody's kind of sometimes closed minded when it comes to some men in this sport. I've been coaching since I was 17 years old. I coached my first basketball team, and my first basketball team was a boys team. I remember what it was like, and the looks and the comments, and even from my own little boys on my team. Oh man, we got a girl coach, And then that year was my first year coaching, and we won the championship. And that just reminded me that it doesn't matter, technique and technique knows no gender. And this sport, there's no secrets in this sport besides you respecting the hard work and dedication that it requires. Now, I will admit that from 17 maybe to 25, 27, I felt like I always had to prove myself with this, whether it's the basketball coaches or the boxing coaches. But now at my age, at 40, I don't worry about that anymore. I'm aware. I'm aware when I walk into certain gyms of what people assume if I know this or I know that. But I know how to read. I know how to read the room. I know how to be open to learning things. And I'm thankful for the brothers that I do have in this sport that have always welcomed me. Like right now, I train with Baz right now in San Mateo, who is top ranks cut man. And he's been able to be in a camp with Triple G and all the great fighters and hear what's going on in the locker room. The fact that he shares certain things with me and how coaches think and approach this sport just shows you the respect that he has for me. So there's a lot to say. There's been good and bad, but we just continue to fight as women in the world in general. But I think that it's important just to be respectful and be just continue to do your thing, because like I tell the kids, everybody's gonna talk. Everybody's gonna judge. And as long as we stay professional, keep our word, then we're going to be great, because my job is to build good people first and then boxers.
I love that. I love that. Alfredo, would you like to speak a little bit on how, males in the boxing industry can sit here and be allies and help support women through this, in quote, male dominated sport?
Yeah, I think Dalia is right. It's in the back in the days, it was really hard for women to join boxing. I think even now you can kind of see it. Like coaches don't give women a chance, and I think that's just an old school of thinking, way of thinking. I think that it's been getting better. It's been getting better, and I gotta say, like I've been coaching a lot of girls, and then I think they work hard. They're very disciplined. They listen. They don't have no egos. So I think we're moving on the right direction. It's still hard. It's still a battle. Even when competitions, girls are having a hard time finding matches. So it's still a battle. But I think we're getting better. If we talk about it, I think it'll get better. If we keep doing our parts as coaches to include women, and coach them the right way, having a good atmosphere, at your gym. If you have a space, us as coaches need to do a better job of including them, treating them right, giving them opportunities to succeed. I think we owe it to them, not only the boys, because I know a lot of coaches, they want a male fighter, and they're so intense about, having a world champion, and then they forget everybody else, So I think we as coaches have to treat everybody and give everybody the same opportunities.
I have to agree. Keeping that space open and safe and creating that environment for it to be welcoming to women and saying, hey, like, come on, come join a class or try this out, do things like that, and kind of extending that arm out. It's going to, create more people talking about it, more women saying, oh, I took this class. Oh, I really like boxing. It's just word of mouth through us. And, us women are trying to sit here and still figure out our place and everything, which is unfortunate. But like you said, as a coach, it's important to create that safe environment for women to feel safe enough to even just try it and then fall in love with it. And then it just creates more and more for us. But Dalia, we would like to hear your opinion on that. And like, what are other effective ways that coaches or males in this industry can sit here and create a safe place for women in boxing?
Well, you read my mind. In fact, sometimes though, it's a beautiful thing if we could walk into a space and feel welcome. But sometimes we have to create our own space. So I would like to give a shout out to heavyweight champion of the world, Martha Salazar, who's like my Thea of boxing, and Blanca Gutierrez, who created an all girls tournament called Beautiful Brawlers. Hence, I actually won championship one time, 1 year. And that is an amazing show. It happens once a year in Pacifica, California. And we're talking about 8 years old to adults, about 40 to 50 fights. That's almost 100 little girls fighting. It's amazing event. And to me, even, for example, that is important. And shoot, when I was started, it was like, you're a girl, because you guys going to fight. And didn't matter what the weight class was. When I fought Queen Underwood, I just started boxing. I was 2 months in, and she had 2 years experience just training. I lost. Of course, 10 years later, it was a different story. But anyways, it's just these things are different, I mean, now we look at the Serrano sisters, and we got Katie Taylor now, all these people that are now making noise in the sport. And a lot of it, yes, has to do with marketing, and people backing them up. As coaches actually will notice, and even as a female coach, when I get a girl come to the gym, she's way more detailed. She'll learn the technique way before the boys do. The boys, you have to have them like 2 years and then they get it. But the only thing is girls don't stick around that long. And so I get it when men sometimes like, well, I'm not going to get a world champion of that. It's very few Katie Taylors. There's very few the Serrano sisters, there's not a lot of them, but it's not for everybody. male or female, this sport is not for everybody. And that's why, because everybody, like they say, everybody has a plan until they get hit, right? So again, just as long as we as women though too go into space and respect the sport, I think that it don't matter if you're a man or a woman, they're gonna respect you. And that's why I stayed being a coach, because then I could be a representative to young girls and women that they could still do it. I could still do it if I'm still my age.
Love that. I love that. Six-time world champion Mary Collum has expressed this sport is a male dominated one. It is mostly considered a man's sport. So initially, when I started boxing, it was very difficult. There would be one or two girls training apart from me. So I had to train with the boys. So all I would want to say is that boxing is not a man's sport. If men can play, then why can't women play? So not so many girls were doing it at the beginning. So they had to train 10 times harder with males. Physically, something a little bit harder, but it also trained them to be so much better. So again, thank you guys both for sharing about all of this. This is so good. And it's inspiring me. I'm going to go take a class tomorrow. All right. So now we're going to transition to hear from both of you guys. So what about the sport makes it so beautiful to you?
I think I mentioned it earlier is, working with different kinds of people. I think that's what I enjoy the most. Through the years, I found out that working with kids is very satisfying. When somebody walks in the door and they're like, oh, I want to learn boxing. I just see it as an opportunity to like train somebody, not just train, like teach them, because training is something else, but teaching is a different. It's different. So I think I truly enjoy that, having like a piece of canvas, like a blank canvas, and then you just paint.
Coach G, how about you? What do you think is the beauty within this sport?
Similar to what Alfredo said, and that is getting to know your community, to see everybody that is from different walks of life. Well, I mean, here in Oakland, we kind of all relate because of the way that things are when it comes to politics. So we relate to each other. It's a place where we all could actually come together and feel like we could breathe finally. But the most beautiful thing about that is, as Alfredo mentioned, is watching the transition of a little kid that didn't know how to do not one push-up. And now he's doing 20 in a row. He's lost 15 pounds. And makes me think of a kid named Oscar. He was 265 pounds and I got him to 190. But although I helped with that, really, it's just amazing to see the power within these people that really they did the work. As much as we're teachers and trainers, our job is pretty easy. We do 30% of the work. 70%, that's on you. You got to do it. I'm not there to make sure you don't eat 10 million tacos or the candy, but I'm there to just be in your ear. And that's a beautiful thing, to know that at least you made a difference. If I got willing, that I'm here for a lot longer, but if I ever pass, put on my tombstone that I was useful and that I made a difference, at least in one person's life. And that's the beauty of boxing and teaching.
I think people, coaches, and every other sport should hear how passionate you are about how focused you are in the development, not only in the sport and physically, it's mentally and spiritually too, and everything else that combines with it. But Alfredo, would you like to start first about what kind of communities do you specifically work with?
Well, I just recently opened a gym at the football district in Oakland, and majority of my clients are young kids. I'm in an area where it needs something positive, right? And so when I was looking for places to open a gym, and then I did my research, and then this gym, it's surrounded by 9 schools. So yeah, so definitely my target was to get young kids out of the streets and into a positive space, so they can have something to do rather than spending time on the streets or bad influences. So the community that I work with is mostly kids in the football district, but I have a big support, like adults that are on my team that are supporting me. And I also train adults. It's not only kids, but mainly, I mean, I think 70% of my clients are young kids, ages 7 to 17. That's the majority of of the people that I train. So, but I I also train women, and I got older adults too. So it's a variety.
Dalia, can you express to us what specific communities you work with?
Yes, I'm in District 2, so it's in San Antonio Park, where back in the day in Oakland, they used to have the jazz, well, they still have the jazz festival there, but they used to have the Cinco de Mayo festival in San Antonio Park. It's one of the biggest parks in Oakland. We built a big old canopy out there. I call it the People's Gym because it's the People's Gym. We train from 7 years old and up. I used to train 4 or 5 years old. Now I don't. It's just because I used to be a TK teacher, so I could handle them, but it's just a lot of energy. But we do have adults too that come by, senior citizens, the free senior citizen class, especially to the Asian community, because I'm friends with the director of the Vietnamese Chamber of Commerce, and they always walk around there. But I know that there has been a lot of Asian hate crime, and so we want to be able to provide a space. But along with mostly youth. I take kids on international experiences as well, but we're mentoring youth, but we utilize boxing and fitness to help them. Only a few will compete. Again, this sport is not for everybody, so not everybody does compete, but that's okay. But I also have trained people that work for the Oakland School District, the directors for there. I've trained also some community leaders like the one of the founders of the Anti-Terror Police Project, and also I'm supposed to train the mayor soon. It's just amazing to know that all these people want to learn and actually just let go of the stress. Oakland is needing a lot of resources, and I'm just happy to be one of them. And I concur when you said that we teachers and coaches and trainers are the angels of the community. We're doing the best we can because when I was a PE teacher, like most kids would come talk to me, then go and talk to the rap teacher or English teacher. There's a little bit more freedom when it comes to movement. Vulnerability does truly build connection, and boxing definitely puts you in a vulnerable position.
I think it is true when it comes to any trainer, coach, anything, you kind of feel a little bit, more comfortable to express what's going on and stuff like that. We have to feel safe. So, creating those safe environments, again, going back to that and being a mentor, like you both had said, it's a beautiful thing to see and how many lives you guys touch. And I can only imagine all of the people you've trained, worked with, your clientele. I'm pretty sure they have a lot of good things to say about you. So
I forgot to include, like I also collaborate with King's Gym in
mhm.
Oakland. Yeah. I used to train there for 11 years. And I also collaborate with EOBA, East Oakland Boxing Association. So I just want to throw that out there. I forgot to mention them. They're a great asset to the community. We're all a community, even though like coaches, we get competitive with when we have fighters. But at the end of the day, we're on the same mission. We're trying to save lives, and then we're trying to work with the youth. So I just want to not forget them, King's Boxing Gym and East Oakland Boxing Association.
UOBA is the reason why I moved to actually Oakland. I used to run that program and turned it around. They didn't have a program really running after the founders had passed. But when I left, they didn't have really any coaches. As of now, I know I heard Alfredo say that he goes and helps, but they haven't had an event since I left, and hopefully they could start because they mostly run as an after school program. So they have like art and like dance and gardening and stuff like that. But they do have still the ring in there.
We're going to move forward into our values. So Dalia, we're going to start with you and talk about like, what are your 3 values that you instill into your boxers?
Have 4. Integrity, attitude, good work ethic, and to be a community advocate. Those are the 4 things that it's imperative for them to learn. Um, that's why. Well, I mean, I could give an example for you. And integrity could come from, for example, if I'm about to go and spar or fight with one of Alfredo's fighters, and if I tell him my fighter's 130, then I'm gonna come in at 130. Although the USA boxing rules allots, 5 to 7 pounds, depending on the age, but 5 to 7 pounds. That's just not how we do things. Not one coach in all of California could ever say that my fighter came in at a different weight class a different weight that we did. And because even though they're amateurs, we need professional. Like I mentioned, I was in Richmond. There was a kid he was only 12, but kept on holding this kid down. I was like, you're a national champion, act professional, none of this dirty hitting behind the head and stuff like that. And those are the things that we need to teach our kids is to have a great attitude and you still get the job done. But also integrity comes when we tell them to go and run 3 miles. Well, I'm not there to go watch them. Sometimes you got to do the right thing when nobody's watching. Um, and that obviously is connected with the good work ethic and with them understanding and having discipline is going to help them go and get that interview or practice over and over to do better at their new job or go to school, college. And last is to truly be a community advocate. We are because, we belong. When we see someone suffering, that's where empathy and being a good person matters. Like to elevate yourself and elevate others truly actually creates endorphins. And that's why I believe that we were born to respect each other. Um it's the way we're wired. Now, of course, I think that the way that we have been our world is suffering, and I think that we will constantly have shock after shock until we truly figure it out. So that's why Alfredo, me, and teachers and coaches are needed because there's obviously a bunch of sadness everywhere. And so that's why these values are important for us to continue to instill in them. And honestly, they keep me alive because I'm not perfect either. Sometimes your apprentice uh, truly is the one teaching you as well. Sorry, I got choked up around.
No worries. Emotion is welcome here. Alfredo, what are your 3 values that you instill into your boxers?
To my boxers, I think the most important one is to respect. It's the respect for one another. If you can respect somebody, no matter their gender, their age, their background, I think you can work with that. I truly believe that creating a space where people feel like they belong, they're comfortable. I think it's the most important one for me to have respect for one another. You know, and if you can do that, then you can build upon more and more and more. You can work with them. You can teach them to have discipline, hard work. What I'm saying, being positive. But I think that's what it is. I think that's why we have a lot of problems. Society has a lot of problems because we don't accept one person. We're always criticizing, oh, you need to be this way. And then in reality, we just need to, well, everybody's different. Everybody's unique, and we just have to accept that. Like everybody talks a different way, walks a different way, so we just got to accept each other. I think if we do that, and that's what I try to instill in my boxers. When they come in, they're like, okay, this is your teammate, try to respect each other, and then I think by doing that, you can really build something, and I'm excited to keep working with people.
Both of you guys talked a little bit about respect and integrity, talking about like in the ring, out of the ring. So that kind of leads us into the next question about, how boxing is a combat sport and there's like a certain level of aggression you need inside the ring. But what kind of agreements do you have with your boxers on the way they carry themselves in the ring, out of the ring, and how do you help them differentiate, you know, the different attitudes and stuff like that? Dalia, we'll start with you and then Alfredo.
Well, again, all personalities are different. I don't know why, but I feel like God always brings me the timid fighters. They're shy, they're quiet, and it's like I have to bring out the aggressiveness out of them. Um, and I mean, because of their home life, it's actually pretty easy to do, sometimes. But my job, though, as Fredo mentioned, respect is important. Inside the ring, though, we understand that you have to defend yourself at all times. But because we are in fight mode, that doesn't mean, though, we hit people again behind the head or below the belt. We have to know the rules, and it's our job to teach them these things. Now, of course, are we in control at what other people do? No, but we have to teach them how to respond. At the end of the day, I teach them the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is for sports, hey, they hit you, you counter back, but responding is for life. And you have to sometimes respond quickly, but you have to think about the ABC options, and where will that lead you if I choose A, B, and C? And so we do a lot of scenarios. And I think that sometimes even the adults in my class, I have these talks, some of them are older than me or some are about my age, but we have these talks because I know that they're at work and dealing with things or working with people that they may not like, but they love the when I start talking about the difference between reacting and responding, and we sometimes don't give ourselves breathing room. We don't know how to walk away to breathe and think about what our next option is. And I think that that's what I do for the kids is I help them with their siblings and their parents and how to communicate. And that in itself actually carries in the ring. Yes, we've been in situations where people have have constantly like holding or like throwing low blows, but we never stoop down to their level. And we just make decisions. Do we go to that gym again? Do we spar them again? Oh no. And we just make sure that we stay on top with our character.
Oh yeah, it's for me it's really big. Um, uh, that topic is really big for me. I try to set an example. If the way I behave, I want my boxers to behave. So of course I have to carry myself with respect. Again, coming back to respect. I think that's the number one rule. Like here at my gym, it's like when my boxers are competing. I want them to be really competitive in the ring, but very respectful outside the ring. Respectful for the coaches, the other boxers. But in the ring, you have to play by the rules. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think that's what I require. Is again respect for coaches, officials, because everybody's like is like in boxing, like all of the judges and officials, they're just volunteers. There's like decisions that are not gonna go your way, and then sometimes coaches get mad, athletes get mad because they didn't win. So you have to stay calm. You have to respect everybody because everybody's just there to help you. So I think that's what I have with my boxers. I want them to respect each other, but when they're in the ring, I want them to play by the rules and do whatever it takes to win.
Have you guys saw those videos of, basketball right now in the Bay Area? There's a lot of fighting going on in the games and people in the stands. That frustrates me. Me and my friend, she's a referee and NCAA referee, and I'm like, what's going on? How are the parents acting? What gives them the right? It's imagine if we're at a boxing match and the parent gets mad at the decision and goes in and rubs in the ring to I don't know, or goes on the side of the ring because that's where the officials are, and it just doesn't make sense, and that's why it's important for us to have that impression. Like, even though our parents might act a fool, I guarantee you, our kids listen to me and Alfredo. Be like, hey, sometimes I have to do that. Sometimes I have to communicate with the kids because sometimes their parents are not always um, balanced. And so it's our job to do our best to teach them how to be leveled.
Coming from a broken home, it's definitely, I took a lot away from my coaches in soccer, especially my freshman and sophomore year. That's when kind of my whole life crumbled and I had no direction. I was all over the place. I didn't even know I had depression at the time. I was like just trying to put a mask on, or I didn't even know my anxiety was a real thing. I thought it was just like, oh, I just anxious. I had to be strong for my mom. I had to be strong for my little brother. I had not me getting choked up too, but I had to figure out how to be strong for myself to make sure that I pushed forward to make sure I got to graduation. I got to walk in high school. And then I got to play soccer at the college level. And then I got to sit here and I'm about to walk for graduation. So I've definitely have had those coaches in my life who have kept me going when my parents in my life didn't even make any sense. So I like I said, I always say thank you, but it's people like you who keep kids like me way back then and even kids now like going and in the right direction. So thank you from someone who had people like you. So just a little brief statement moving into our next question. What is your like mission and what is something that you want your athletes to take away from you in just one brief sentence?
Yeah, I want them to learn that with hard work, anything is possible, and with the right mindset, they can overcome, their fears, and with the right mindset, they can achieve their goals. And I'm just here to like I'm just a helping hand. I'm just a tool for them. I'm just a tool for them to make them realize what they can achieve. I think it takes a lot of coaches, and to for a young kid to realize their potential. They're not gonna get it like with the first coach, or the first sport. A lot of kids have to try different sports in order for them to really find out what they're good at. So us as coaches, you're just a tools to help them get to where they want to go.
I want them to learn to take away, if they even are with me a month or 2 months, at least to know that life's about adapting and overcoming. And I will quote Chief Gassé, the Fire Academy. They always say, "All that I am, I owe, and I live internally in the red." And so that means is that whoever has helped you, go back and either pay it forward and always do good, and or know that don't forget all the people that have helped you. So live internally in the red.
I feel it. I understand it. And I was one of those kids. And it's just, I don't know if you can hear my voice. I love it. So we're going to wrap up this podcast today. And we're going to finish with one final question. Little brief statement from you both as well as what are some ways our listeners can support you guys with all the work that you do?
Um, so, well, you can follow me everywhere. Dalia la Pantera, which means the panther in Spanish. And for the youth program, it's called Vertical Skills with the Z, Vertical Skills Outreach. The Instagram handle is Vertical Skills. You know, all I ask is that you actually support the youth program. Of course, if you want to come and train with me as an adult, you're welcome. Um, my website's www.verticalskills.org, and we're at San Antonio Park in Oakland. At the moment, we are trying to raise funds to take kids to the Philippines. We were able to take 10 Black and brown students to Cuba in 2019. To teach them to make new friends all over the world, and also to come back and appreciate the things that they have here in Oakland. They might be East Oakland poor, but they ain't that poor when they go and see other kids that they don't have a lot of things that they have. They're sparring with no shoes, no mouthpiece, So always go vertical and support your community. So um, that's all I got.
Alfredo, what are ways that our listeners can support you?
Well, for all the listeners, I pledge them to give back to the community, give back to the youth. It doesn't have to necessarily be me, right? I mean, of course, I do need help. I just recently opened a gym. I'm trying to get a mural on my on the outside wall of my building. So I do need help, but I understand other people need help too. So I just wanna, for the listeners, I just want them to give back to the community. Give back to the youth. The youth is the future. We have to give back. I'm getting older. These young kids, they need something. So for all the listeners, try to give back to the youth. You know, and my website is gopaboxing.com if they like to donate to help us. We need a water fountain, we need equipment, we need treadmills. So we can use a lot of help. But if they feel like giving, it doesn't have to necessarily be me, but give back to Oakland, give back to the youth. And let's make this place a better place, especially for the young kids.
Real quick, that was Stormy. So Storm, God loves and hates me. He tore up our canopy, so we definitely need people to help us with that. Until I get cool and like Alfredo and have a building, um, you know. But one day. So yeah, no, thank you for this and the opportunity and this is support. This is support, like to have dialogue, and communicate with each other. This is something.
Yeah, of course. We're so happy to have you and hear your guys' story. And I said this in a previous podcast, like being able to hear someone's story and hear how authentic and passionate they are about it, it makes you want to sit here and support them. So I hope this happened with our listeners, that they're inspired by these two amazing coaches who sit here and, like Alfredo said, give back to the youth because the youth is the future. So I'm really appreciative having this conversation with you guys, and make sure that you guys all check out the links, references, anything that's in this podcast will be linked in the show notes below. So make sure you check those out. And again, thank you guys so much for joining the Making Moves podcast. I was definitely inspired. I got really emotional, and I'm definitely going to take a lot away from this episode. I'm not only going to go try a boxing class, I'll be hitting you guys up soon, but also just as a life and as a person. So hope everyone can take away as much as I did. And I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
This podcast was brought to you by the Center for Sport and Social Justice at Cal State University East Bay. It was produced by McKenna Duda with technical and promotional support from Angelo Sunier, Virginia Ard, Jill Nelson, Sienna Clark, and Alex Salveson. Their music is by Marby Miller. A big thank you to Center for Sport and Social Justice co-directors Dr. Matthew Atencio and Dr. Missy Wright for their support. Funding for Making Moves was provided by Cal State University East Bay and the Center for Sport and Social Justice. Make sure to catch all 6 episodes of Making Moves, streaming now on SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.